I'm so grateful to be called here today on this extraordinary alignment. This alignment just means so much to me in my own life, as every time it happens, something extraordinarily significant happens in my life. And this alignment I'm talking about is the Earth, the Sun, and Pleiades coming into direct heliocentric alignment. And on these days, it's like we can phone home easier. The phone lines are open and we can just open up the gateways of consciousness to connect with those frequencies. So I just wanted to give a little bit of backstory. The first time that I truly celebrated this alignment, I was in Vermont, and when I first drove up into this valley, I could feel that there was just, the words that came to me were Pleiadian goddess vortex. And at the time, I didn't really know anything about any of those things. And so I was like, well, okay, that sounds like some spiritual words. That sounds great. So as I explored where I was, I ended up actually staying there for a few months. And these rocks began to talk to me in the mountain, and these giant boulders that were there. And they kept repeating that they were these ancient Pleiadian technology that had been left there from when the Pleiadians first landed in that area. And as we know, so many Native American societies also tell the same story of coming from the Pleiades and coming from Sirius and all different parts of the sky. And so these stories, they're not new. And when I started hearing these things, though, I was like, I'm just making this up in my head, right? You know, talking to ancient aliens in the rocks, are you serious? And then a week before the alignment, this was in May, so this alignment happens twice a year, in May and in November, I met this, I think he was a guardian, he was one of the local Cherokee natives there, and he just saw me and started kind of crying and telling me these stories about how his people always told these stories of these giant spiders coming out of the sky. And he said that the entire mountain valley was created when his ancestors first landed in the area there. And so when I heard him tell these stories, it connected the dots, you know, of the current moment in time and the true past of what has happened through these oral stories that have been told in those lineages. And so as I began to believe in the stories, I was able to open up and receive more of the details. And so I feel that we are gathering today here specifically for a very special cosmic event. And I know that we can say that a lot. You know, they're like, 11/11, cosmic meditation, the whole world's gonna change. But like, actually, today we're doing it. And I wanna tell the story because I think that is gonna bring us a full circle into understanding just what this transformation, just what this shift truly is, what we're shifting out of and what we're shifting back into. And so our original story, just for the sake of today's discussion, really begins in the Pleiades. And these are stories that these stones have told me. So I have no proof of these stories. I've just read the lines and the memories and these technologies that have been left here. So I think that some people truly resonate with them, and if your body starts tingling, you'll know. So I think that a lot of star people have heard about the galactic wars, about different tragedies that have happened in the universe. And when I was in Mount Shasta this summer, I happened to accidentally be there on the 33rd harmonic convergence. And when I was up there with Unity Grace, we met just synchronously. We brought in kind of the completion story of the universe, and it was extraordinary. It's this understanding that the universe had spent a long time learning in a certain mainframe, learning from a certain story. And that story was one of separation or of the splitting of polarities. And that out of this splitting of polarities came all of these distortions and interesting experiences, and we would call it drama and karma, that was necessary for the evolution of the universe, but eventually that story came to a close. And the phase of experience we're in the universe is actually one of unifying of forces. So the way that this story was shown to me was that there was a androgynous creation that split itself into two universes, one predominantly of feminine energy and one predominantly of masculine energy. And then as the universes came back in together, the differences created ripples. And these ripples were what opened the gateways for things that weren't intended or weren't so flavorful to happen. And so everyone on the planet right now is playing a role in the resolution of all drama and distortions in the whole universe. And I know that sounds crazy, but when we truly begin to open our eyes to all the things that actually exist on this planet, it becomes less crazy because it actually kind of explains what's happening, right? And I'm really talking about the more intense things like, sorry, I just got distracted because I'm so happy. I was like, yay! When we get into the more intense things like planetary mind control, and even deeper than that, things that are coming out about human trafficking, and these things are not things that spiritual people really want to talk about or look at, and especially then it opens the door to the even deeper things like ritual abuse and things that people that control humanity practice. And then when we begin to open our mind to those levels of reality, we realize that what is happening on the earth right now is not accidental. There is literally, I want to say, evil magic that has been disseminated on purpose. And I'm speaking this to bring our awareness there, but to also bring in this awareness that all of these energies exist on earth because these energies have existed in this universe, and they're coming to be resolved. The universe is moving out of these levels of experimentation and into a new state of itself, new levels of creativity. And so these energies that are existing on the earth is almost like we're in a petri dish, and the ancient people will talk about the tree of life. And there's an amazing book called The 9 Waves of Creation that talks about how when the scientists studied the star maps in the sky, they realized that the earth was actually in the perfect middle axis between a light-filled half of the universe and a half of the universe that didn't have as many stars. And so even in the cosmological story, we are positioned in the universe to balance polarities and to resolve conflict and all of these different sorts of things. And so I'm bringing that awareness in because we can say, oh, these people, they did these bad things and they should be punished, and then, poor us, they did this to us. But actually, everyone on the planet here now has actually chosen to be here to play part in this drama, and it's because we are actually all in service to the entire universe, resolving all of its things before it can fully become the next evolution of itself. And so this actually resolves all polarity and move us into a place of recognizing our purpose and how imperative it is for us to fully awaken, not just to the spiritual words that describe what a spiritual person is, but actually to seeing lucidly all the levels of reality so we understand how we participate inside of it correctly. And so when I pull that down into a more grounded level, I know that there's a lot of other oracles that have been talking about this exact same energy. I just connected with the Unity Grace yesterday, and she did this live video on this exact subject because this is the most important thing that we need to talk about on the earth right now, and that is our sexual healing, actually. And I know that might sound kind of sideways, like way over there, but the truth is our sexual energy is actually how these vessels, how our human self experiences cosmic creation energy. And our sexual energy and its hijacking is how humanity have been cursed and hijacked of our awareness of who we are. And I began to learn this years ago when I started hearing this voice saying, you're from Andromeda and you're a geneticist and you're here on Earth to do this thing. And I'm like, okay, like, what do you want me to do? And they're like, go to a shopping mall and just look at people. And so I'm like, no, I don't want to go to a shopping mall. They're scary. So I'm like they're like dragging my body to the shopping mall and I'm scanning like everybody's energy bodies, because that's kind of the sort of the work that I do. I'm a grid technician. So the training that I received was literally just going out there and looking at stuff with my own third eye, my own vessel. And I realized that everybody's energy bodies was cut off from the top and the bottom. And so our toroidal field wasn't completing the circle with the universe. And so that's basically the technology that is keeping humanity in forgetfulness. And so as we awaken, we need to activate our entire energy body to allow the energy to flow freely. And I feel that in our community, our higher chakras is really not the trouble. We have no issues being super spiritual, understanding all the concepts, knowing all the words, but it's really our lower chakras that have been the most attacked, because we grew up in this world and we've literally never been educated on the truth of our creative energy. So when I say sex, people don't immediately think sacred universe, right? And that's actually how it's supposed to be, what normal actually is. And so we have to do this reprogramming and rewiring of our energy system. So I like to understand in very simple terms. And so when people talk about satanic ritual abuse and why does that happen on our planet, right? Everybody knows that millions of people are being trafficked. Like, everybody understands that and they know it, but they don't want to think about it because they don't want to acknowledge it fully. I mean, when I was growing up, my mom would say, stay close to me or some strange man's going to pat you on the head with some white powder and they'll kidnap you. And, I think all parents have that little subconscious fear. It's like in the collective consciousness. It's not a secret. It's just that we don't often look at it. And when we actually begin to peer into that, we begin to realize that this distortion and degradation and forgetfulness of the truth about our energy and especially our sexual energy is the bars of the prison. Because if we really understood who we were, then we wouldn't be able to be controlled. And this false reality wouldn't be created by us, right? And so, again, this is just a rewiring because we've literally never been told these things. Our society does not think that these is the commonly accepted understanding of what sex is. And so there's a frequency that's coming in, and it's the bring back of the innocence of our essential selves, to know that what is already divine, already perfect. And then we realize that all of these spiritual teachings from all over the world, they carry their own distortions too. Anything that say, you have to work really hard to become enlightened. You have to do these things in this way to be good enough to be in heaven. And so, I don't want to weird anybody out, but I do that sometimes just to land the energy when I'm speaking.
Go for it.
I feel that all of these pieces of information are coming in. Because we're talking about the original story from Pleiades. The story is that a long, long time ago, the Draco reptilians were on their rampage around our galaxy, trying to take over all these planets and doing these crazy things. And they are actually genetically modified because originally the dragons were very sacred beings, keepers of the portals. They were creator beings of the universe. They're highly advanced and spiritual beings. And so these beings were actually genetically modified, and I know that sounds crazy, but I have to tell you, they were genetically modified to create and dominate situations that are violent, to take over certain planets and people in order to sustain this energy. We could call it AI. So eventually the Draco reptilians came to the Pleiades, and there was a deal that was made. The Pleiades is a very spiritual place, and if the Pleiades were to be taken over, it would be very bad for the galaxy. And so a council came together, and basically what was agreed upon was that there would be genetic material sent from the Pleiades to the Earth, and the Draco reptilians would get to rule the Earth. Now, it's not a bad plan because there were actually secret meetings that were held, and there was a deeper plan even beyond what was shared with the Draco reptilians. And so basically, the Pleiadians knew that it wasn't the right time in the universe to correct the AI because we weren't in the part of the cycle where there was enough cosmic energy. And so they knew that there would be a time when our star systems would enter a higher oscillatory part of the universe where there would be more conscious energy and higher vibrational energy, and this energy would actually support us in overcoming this disease. And so the Pleiadians sent their people to the Earth in this agreement, and they also sent these technologies for us to use in a future moment in time when the cosmos would be aligned for us to overcome this darkness, and that time is now. And so that is why we're all waking up to our starseedhood. We're finding these new tools and technologies and crystals, and we're creating these new things that, anchor light. It's because these cosmic energy and these alignments, they are assisting us in correcting these distortions. And we have to bring that down into the human level. I feel like I'm a bearer of kind of bad news because these frequencies, they bring us to all the places inside of our body where those distortions are. And those distortions are not always the most fun things to look at because, let's put it this way. I know that the word rape actually means the taking by force of something that is most essential and dear to our most vulnerable self. And so when we look at the world, we realize that the humans have been forcefully taken of our ability to create and the knowingness of who we truly are. This is the level of trauma that humanity is facing in our healing. And we have to begin to look at it from this perspective because it brings us into focus, right? It's not that we're trying to hug everyone and we're trying to be all positive and high vibe. We're literally freeing a whole planet of people from planetary sexual enslavement. And I feel that the good news is that we are extraordinary, powerful beings. And that this is actually, all of us literally fought to be here because the level of growth in our own experience of a creator being, the level that we can learn and experience this on this planet is off the chart. This level of soul growth is not really available that often in the cycle of the universes, and so here we all are. And so just the last code that wants to come through before we go into the sound healing, it's kind of a preface. The sounds will just do their own thing. So the way that I understand satanic, it basically just means that it's something that has fallen from a state of complete reverence for creation and life itself. The space of recognition for the complexity and the divinity and the beauty of all of life and all of creation, that sustaining of that state of being, of awareness, of perceiving, that is actually the natural state of all living creatures. And so I would go as far as saying that we live in sort of a watered down satanic reality, because what's normal to us humans has now become, entitlement and forgetting to be grateful every single day for what we have. And that appreciation energy is actually what allows us to actually recognize ourselves. Because when we look around in the world and we see beauty and we see creation and we see this living light, we realize that we're a part of it, and that's what we are too. And so it's impossible for us to completely recover and restore our true selves without completely recognizing all of the things that are not us inside of our vessel. And that is why these transmissions always come through in this way, is because I just want to share as much medicine as I can with you in the short time that we have. And so with that, I'm gonna just allow the sounds to come through. Just breathing into our body, expanding our energy field, allowing these vibrations to enter and come into our body and all the places that carry any geometry or frequency of energy that has forgotten the truth of our divinity, of our light that is the light of our DNA, that is the consciousness that's streaming in from the cosmos, from our beloved sun, Solaris. And just flowing that frequency to all the places inside of our body that has forgotten or has fallen or has separated itself from the knowing of this truth all the time. And that we are deserving of it, that it is made for us, it is us. Allowing that love to flow into all the places in our body that may be calling for that love, to recognize this love as ourself. I know that Manitou is a very magical place, and I'm just so honored to be here with all of you who have made family here. I can see that there are genetic strands that you carry that are still intact from the lives that you have lived here in the past, when perhaps there were more magic and that we were still able to express ourselves and travel through the portals and commune with the nature spirits, and everything was true and alive and present. And I'm opening up this space to allow for us to come back into that remembrance and to know that we can recreate that again, that the magic has not been destroyed, that it is hiding inside of you, in your soul, in your consciousness, in your genetics. And we're reaching that out to all the beings that are tuning in other places in the world, the sacred portal keepers and the sacred places. And even if you're inside the city, it's even a harder job. You gotta keep that portal on. And just know that it's not gone, that you have the power to open those portals in your DNA. And that as you do that, those strands in the masses of all human beings that will activate too. And when we strengthen this field of aliveness, of magic, of joy, of living, we're literally somatically reminding all the bodies in the world. The bodies are on our side. People's mind may not be. Their mind control technology might be full on, but their somatic bodies and the consciousness inside of their DNA, they're full game. So we can send that magic out by bringing it into our own bodies and by activating and remembering that secret place inside of us. source of creation, the highest aspects of our own soul, we are commanding for a dissolution, for a release of all agreements, contracts, geometries created consciously or unconsciously, which has given away the power of our own soul, bodies, energy, knowledge, magic, wisdom. Renouncing all agreements and contracts made in all of time, space, and all the dimensions. Through which our energy is able to be taken or hijacked or stolen from us. We're closing, renouncing, releasing all geometries of this in our multidimensional body, in our genetics, in our collective, in the elemental realms. Taking away the keys, taking back our keys, taking back what is rightfully ours, our connection, our sacred relationship with nature, the nature spirits, our bond, and the magic that we wield in those spaces. Geometries, the curses over our consciousness and our genetics, which in turn create feelings of conflict and jealousy and judgment. Recognizing that those geometries are not us, not natural to our being, not natural to our essential self. Remember, you can't let go of things that you're clinging on to, so just be without it. Allowing all densities to simply evaporate. Allow this lightness and this freedom, free to be who we are, free to express these most scrumptious parts of ourselves. Just spread that energy out through our heart portal into all of humanity, recognizing that these densities of judgment and conflict and weirdness, these energies of not being able to just be, are the bars of our prison. by simply recognizing that, we step out of that amnesia, we dissolve that barrier back into the unified field of the cosmic united consciousness of divine sacred creation, of joy, creativity, abundance, freedom. We're connecting the galactic energies of the Pleiades, synchronizing with the elemental energies of the fairy, elvish kingdoms. These kingdoms that represent these archetypal energies inside of ourselves, that is the truth of our role on this planet as guardians and protectors of life. Because we love life, we appreciate life, we're in reverence to life. Because it's made of this stuff, the secret sauce, the spice, the dust. Remember that this is what we're made of, and sprinkle it on everything. Oh.